Monday to talk about Palantir. Is it a cult? Is it not a cult? We're going to talk about Alex Karp versus Elon Musk and many other things. As always, today I'm happy to be joined with Arnie. You probably know him already. He has a great Substack, great X account. All the links will be available in the description and in the pinned comment as well. Arnie, welcome back on the channel.
Thank you for having me here. I just noticed how good it actually sounds. The Karp cult.
The Karp cult, yeah. We could make merch. We make merch, we sell a lot, we make more from that than investments. It's our new Patreon.
The opportunity Palantir has to make a substantial free cash flow in terms of merchandise with also a lot of pricing power given the demand.
Okay, exactly. We sell it through AIP bootcamps and everything. Every firm gets a personalized shirt. I mean, the margins here will be incredible, all through the power of AI.
Generated plus 30% efficiency.
Included in the S&P 500.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So maybe we should start with the cult story. So for those that don't know, today an account on X tweeted out that what's the deal with Palantir and it being a cult following. My opinion is not just Palantir. I think with the rise of social investing and stuff like that, YouTubers, FinTweets, you name it. Yes, cult following happen. Lots of channels talk about Tesla daily, weekly. I mean, I have a Tesla weekly episode, Palantir daily, Palantir weekly, SoFi weekly. It becomes a trend. Fine. I mean, if you have a YouTube channel, you have to make videos about something, get views, get paid, your investments. Of course, sometimes there is some conflict of some sort, but is Palantir a cult? Yes or no?
What is a cult? Let's start from that, because if with cult we mean a group of people that share an ideology, I can't deny that Palantir is a cult, meaning that in order to embrace the company, to appreciate the company, you don't really need to only understand it from a fundamental level, what the company does, what are the margins, blah, blah, blah. You need to understand what's behind the surface that actually generates those numbers that just 1 year ago were just okay, 2 years ago were complete trash. The company was burning cash. So it's like, why should someone be interested in a company that was burning cash? Yet there were already many people interested in the company. Maybe many discovered it as a meme, but there was something more behind that. And this that was behind that gradually emerged. And now it is even generating a crazy strong free cash flow of around 30-35% free cash flow margin. Like, this is not something you normally see in a company, unless this company has what the Latins would say is a quid, a why. And the big why Palantir has is not only on the software world. They're trying to transform the way software is delivered in a way to produce output, but also the reason why you need actually that software. In the military field, that is more than crucial. When you have a software that helps you making a good decision in terms of war, in terms of preventing terrorism, you really see that you prevent life to be lost thanks to software. But also in the commercial side, if you think of it, just by improving efficiency of 10%, 20% on a large scale, that means a lot of margin. That means a lot of potential resources to be unlocked to boost further growth. So now I see the US having the same kind of talks that were in Italy 10 years ago. Oh, there is too much debt. Oh, there is not enough GDP growth to actually sustain that. And how do you actually solve that? Well, the answer is productivity. But in order to reach productivity, you need the software that works. And then you have a big question. Okay, how do you actually build software that works. There are so many tech companies. How come that among these 2,000 companies in the SaaS world, then you don't see a real GDP boost just because of that? Like, you see value captured by the big tech companies. That's a truth. But why don't you see the clients of Microsoft or Google actually becoming super crazy companies leveraging tech? Well, Shyam, the CTO of Palantir, described this as a phenomenon where actually the more technology you deploy that doesn't really work, the more complexity you bring to the system, and actually the worse you become. And that is actually the problem Palantir solves. But again, how do we actually build something like that that works? What Palantir understood that the other software companies didn't. And if we think of the foundation of Palantir, that Palantir is built on secrets, the secrets of Palantir are many, but I think we can really find the source of software being more artistic than it seems. And in order to create software that solves a big problem, you need to look at it from a more, let's say, artistic way. You need to be more unstructured. You can't really follow a fixed progress. And you need to have a very specific kind of people that reason out of the box. The kind of people you don't really want to deal with in a normal corporate environment. You need what Palantir says, a colony of artists, which are very weird to manage, very difficult. You need to have a corporate structure that is very peculiar. And to manage these peculiar guys, you also need a peculiar leader. So you need a mission to drive these individuals. And the mission Palantir has is using software to deliver good output to first to save lives as it started, but in the enterprise sector, it is really unlocking value in order to boost to exaggerate the GDP growth. But what I really mean is making sure that each company can truly unlock the full potential it has with its data. So you need a very strong mission to attract people, very strong values. And when you have strong values, you definitely need to say no to things you don't agree with. And when you say no to things, that is where you start having an ideology. So, for instance, being vegan is essentially an ideology, but that comes from saying no meat, no everything that is even closer to that. So you see, the stricter you are with your no, the potentially stronger the ideology becomes. And Palantir has been quite strong with its ideology on how you build software. And it has been very criticized for that, for, oh, you're a consultancy. And it was even very criticized for saying, we don't sell to China, we don't sell to Russia. So you see, I think these are the ingredients to make the cult side even possible. Now, how do you actually feed this cult? And that is where here we are.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it did start from a long time ago when we went from is Palantir a cult to a whole now ideology type of conversation, which is fine. If you're watching, do share your cult definition in the comment section below. But no, it started basically from them basically leaving Silicon Valley, going, I think, where was it? Colorado, Denver, doing their own thing, leaving the traditional way of doing things, being very, very pro-West, pro-USA. I mean, we've seen the conversation in Europe last week. I had to laugh. I watched it again twice yesterday because I wanted to hear the German part yet again to maybe understand what he wanted to say there. But
you know German?
A little bit. I mean, there are some similarities from Flemish. So basically, he wants to protect the German things. But all in all, I got the idea that they are very, very naive. Very, very naive. I mean, to think that, oh, we are not giving them weapons, but at the same time, we are giving them extremely good technologies in the hopes that they would not use it against us. I mean, what?
there is a regulation. I expect them to follow the regulation. That's so obvious.
I mean, we just had a pandemic that came from somewhere. Don't want to get demonetized here. Uh, but now we're like, yeah, but this AI thing is very big and dangerous, fast moving. We would love, the woman said, we would love for everyone to follow the rules, but not. I'm like, is it kindergarten? I mean, are you serious? This is ridiculous. And we see the way it goes. I mean, we talked about software companies, the US. This is driving, of course, the growth there in the United States. But even there, with all the huge companies, you would have expected the growth to be much bigger than it is. Which is what you said. Palantir. I mean, they said, what was it? A couple of weeks ago, he tweeted about that. But the fact that a lot of companies just sell you software that you don't really need. It's software that they want you to need, which is basically what Palantir, in a sense, is solving. So yeah, usually, what has to happen now is, with the help of AI technology, stuff like that, productivity has to go up super fast, and cost and expenses have to go down as well. And that's how basically you drive growth. Which is funny enough, I had this conversation today, a couple of hours ago, exactly the same conversation about recessions, GDP growth, stuff like that. But yeah, we're seeing with SpaceX as well. They don't get a contract, but other companies get a contract from the government, which is way more expensive than what SpaceX would have charged, because politics. But it's crazy. So yeah, I mean, cult is forming. Can see it as a negative, can see it as a positive. At the end of the day, it depends which cult you join, I would say.
Well, I'm not sure if in English cult necessarily has the negative label attached to that. I would say, for instance, in Italian, tends to be negative, but at the end of the day, it is not necessarily negative because, for instance, Apple definitely has a cult. Maybe now we see it less because essentially we are all on the iPhone. Like, okay, I mean, I think at this point, apart from a small minority that wants to be different, but well, Apple went from think different to now you are different if you don't have an iPhone, so that you don't really see that cult thing. Just because now there are so many people that are just interested, also for monetary reasons, just to make the review, stuff like that. So right now there is a very strong interest in being an Apple fan, because that makes new views, that makes help you sell feedbacks and stuff like that. So, but in the early days, 10 years ago, just to say a number, the incentive to actually be an Apple cult member was not there. Like YouTube was not that strong. You couldn't not monetize. So why should you be an Apple fanboy rather than I have something different? Like, but if you were truly passionate about the product, that is something that came from you. So that was a cult, but that was not negative. If we can say, was Tesla a cult or is Tesla a cult? I would say definitely yes, but it is that reason where you see people that took the effort, the extra effort, they embraced the ideology of Musk, but not in a negative way. They embraced it because they believed into the vision and they took the effort to actually understand what they could understand. They made the research on the product, and they understood things that Wall Street didn't really want to accept. That is not a negative thing. But I would say that once you have an ideology, if pushed too far, that is where it becomes negative. So the Tesla cult actually became very negative, in my opinion, when everyone became too rich, too fast. And while I was sharing content on Palantir, I was keep receiving very, very, very annoying messages like, oh, forgot this trash that doesn't grow. Look at Tesla. This is the future, bro. Rocket, rocket, rocket. And emojis with like the most annoying emoji ever. And it's like, okay.
Yep.
2 years later. But apart from that, I believe if I believe there is a good component in the cult. We should always discriminate what's good and what's bad. The good stuff is the sense of community is actually not, I would say, not needed, but it really helps in understanding the truth. But there is the negative side, which you need to be aware of, that you can enter in a confirmation bias loop and you risk of becoming too hyped. So the moment you become detached from the reality, that is where you see the negative side. And when the stock moves, you tend to see that stronger.
Yeah, it's exactly what Noodle says. Basically, cult tends to be negative in English, usually a diss or at least suggesting an echo chamber, which I think echo chamber might be a better term here to use. Because yes, it's true when you go on YouTube, on FinTweet, and your feed just feeds you exactly the information that you want, then yes, you're getting into an echo chamber because you're only getting the information from one side, which is bad, which has happened, of course, for years and years, not just for investing, but politics, other stuff as well. Not just Palantir, Tesla, trust me, Tesla as well. Even I am a super bull of Tesla, but sometimes I'm like, guys, just shut the Sometimes some people say the dumbest thing. Everything is 100% rose. Sometimes you're like, okay, just I can understand some comments from the bearish side. Which one you can take? I mean, you can take both sides, but listen to both and disregard the BS. I mean, it's the same with Palantir, the AI imposter, the CIA agent, data collector bullshits that we had to hear for so long. I mean, okay, make those arguments. Fine, doesn't mean they're true. That's the thing. People need to stop to be offended by comments that might not be true. I mean, if you think that they're not true, then make your case. Make your case. There's no reason to be like, oh, you're a liar, you're an asshole. No, okay, make your case. If you think Elon Musk is a clown, he's an idiot, okay, good.
Well,
that's your opinion.
This is one of those cases where the reality tends to be in the middle. People that are part of a cult, like broadly speaking, tend to be more prone to the echo chamber effect. While people from outside, they point, oh, you're a cult, and then they just have a prejudice, like this guy who we were talking about before, Q Cup, who's there. Oh, but why there is a cult? I don't understand this. And
he
like,
was bullish.
Okay.
He called it the next Google, by the way,
Exactly.
a year or two ago.
So I would say from outside, it is easy to point, oh, you're a cult. And I was saying that same thing of Tesla. It's like, I like the company. I don't like this too cultish environment. But I would also say that it is that cultish push that actually made people becoming obsessed in their research, which is what helped them actually understand things. But it is truly important, in my opinion, especially from people that are more, let's put this way, influential in the niche, trying always to be balanced. Because the problem, for instance, I had with Tesla was that at the top, when the price was clearly very high, the price was implying 30-50% growth CAGR. They were pushing estimates even further. And I remember, for instance, having shared this reply on Gary Black. He was saying, oh, yes, because if you value Tesla on on a multiple 3 years from now, then it becomes very, very cheap. And I say, come on, like if, and I said, look, my rule of thumb is if a company in 1 year time doesn't make sense, it is probably not that cheap. Simple heuristic.
It's funny because he complains every single week now about Tesla because the stock is down. But when the stock was super, super high, every day was another reason to put out new catalyst why Tesla will be at $400, $350. This is me without FSD. This is me with FSD. This multiplier, that multiplier. So I mean, yeah, it's
Okay,
it's
the problem
funny.
I had with the Palantir community was that initially I was the bearish guy. Like the first article that became more spread that I wrote was when Palantir was around $14, and I wrote an article why 99% of the DCFs on Palantir are wrong. They fail. Essentially saying, look, guys, I love you, but if you try to be more objective, you need to be aware that stock-based compensation actually has a weight on the valuation, actually a very strong weight, and no one, really no one, was paying attention to that. Neither Wall Street analysts that were making the DCF assuming zero dilution for a company that was diluting like 4-5% per year, or even more. And that alone was a factor that would make the stock worth from $14 to $8. So you have almost half the price just ignoring something, and you had YouTubers, big YouTubers, saying, "Oh, stock-based compensation doesn't matter." No, it matters.
I remember very well. It's all the shares are already public. Don't you see? I remember the big YouTuber with the $500 thumbnails saying all the shares are already on the market, so no dilution anymore. I was like, what? That doesn't make much sense.
So you see, I think the hard stuff, like I think, so let's make one step back. There is value in seeing a cult, assuming that Tesla and Palantir are cult. Is there value to be extract from for you as an investor or not?
I mean, I gained quite a lot from being part of that cult, I guess. You get lots of information, whether it's good or bad. At least you get the information. So yeah, I mean, this is a funny comment here. As long as we don't all decide to commit mass suicide over stock movement, this is a cult I'm down with. So yeah, I mean,
as long as if the consequences of being a cult is we all make a 10x on our money, I'm down.
yeah, because it's true. Because when the stocks go down 30, 40, 50%, suddenly the cult changes a bit and becomes a devil cult, and not a rosy one. But no, I mean, it really depends how you use it, I guess. If you're the supreme leader of the cult and you lead the cult into oblivion, then maybe not. But yeah, overall, I think that's how retail. I mean, we use the word cult, of course, as a. I mean, it seems as an insult, but overall, retail gains from the fact that there is communities on X, on YouTube. We get way more information out there on a daily basis through Reddit, through people finding stuff, through, I don't know, some connections. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of value. I've seen this with Tesla for way before Palantir. And that's probably why a lot of Tesla shareholders are super rich right now, because they've seen it before Wall Street. But again, it can cloud your judgment, because in a matter of a year, 2 years, you're up 10, 20x, which usually never happens. But yeah.
I mean, imagine this, you have never invested and you make a 10x in a couple of years. Like the way you perceive investment is completely flawed. And that was the problem I personally had with many people in Palantir initially, that got too much too fast. And with Tesla, people that were thinking that a 50% CAGR was kind of normal to think once it was already happened in a short period of time. So it can happen. I'm not saying that, but if you don't really understand why it should happen and what is the risk associated to that thing, especially if the valuation already implies is priced for a 50% growth and that doesn't materialize, that is where you suffer. So I think there is overall positive, a lot of positives in terms of the research gathering effort. For instance, on Tesla, it is embarrassing to see how many good sources there are. I think with Palantir, the same is happening, but there is a huge responsibility for investors to actually always try to understand what is a fact, what is an opinion, and what is a detached opinion from the fact. So, for instance, in my case, I would say, as I deal daily with people, I'm actually worried when I see people actually becoming too bullish, too aggressive. Probably this is a bit of what is happening right now. If you look at Twitter, the level of aggressiveness of the Palantir bear bulls has increased dramatically compared with last year.
A year ago, yeah.
So it is true there is a component of F you. I know I'm like, you see, I was right, and that is kind of normal. But again, when you start seeing this thing is, in my opinion, the same thing of Tesla boys when they were completely blinded on the potential risks that were rising. So far, we know that the Palantir story is getting better and better by the day. But at the same time, we always need to realize that as investors, we make money only if our stock has further potential upside, because there is a reality that is emerging that is not already priced in. If we think that now the things are unlocking and Palantir should become 1 trillion in a month, as some big guys are actually trying to push, yeah, in terms of protection, that is where there's a problem. So I personally find myself often in the position where I try to be more bearish when things go well, and I tend to be more bullish when things are bad. But I see it's not always the case, because once you are on YouTube or on platforms, actually you benefit more from being on surfing along with a wave rather than
Yep.
countering
Selling
the wave.
hopium. Selling hopium. But yeah, I mean, there was a reality check. When Palantir was not growing as fast as it should, then the stock should not be trading at the price it did. The same with Tesla right now. Tesla is barely expected to grow in 2024, and so the stock should reflect a year of basically no growth. I don't understand why people can't. I mean, this is the reality right now. Yes, of course, we're investing in Tesla not for the next 12 months, same with Palantir, same with everything else. You're investing for the next 5, 10 years, maybe plus whatever. But Wall Street doesn't care what you want your investment thesis to be 5, 10 years from now. They see a year of nothing. So, okay, they're going to price this stock as of for nothing, because there are probably other things in the market that will grow faster, that are better priced. And so, okay, 1 year, you're not going to get your 20% from Tesla or whatnot. Can happen. Happened with Palantir. Then Palantir suddenly growth is reaccelerating, as we've seen. Stock reacts positively. We'll see what happens next. But from the comments that we've heard, I think we're going to see accelerated growth for quite a while now. But yeah, I mean, it's probably also because of the 2020, 2021, 2022 market that a lot of retail think that this is a TikTok type of market. Things go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. You can make 50%, you can lose 50% in a matter of a day or a week. Usually it doesn't work like that. I mean, I sure hope that over the next coming years, we're not really going to get the same thing over and over again, where earnings season, a stock pops 20, goes down 30, just doesn't make any sense. I mean, the market is pretty crazy, especially now with all AI hype. I know it's a game changer. It really is a game changer, because for some companies, they're going to make way more money with less resources, but for other companies, doesn't change much. They just added the AI name to the name, and then added C3 as well, and they ride the wave. So we'll see.
Well, I was thinking, what you say is true. Things are changing, but again, it is really hard to understand the degrees of the changes. The market is also changing a lot. I was personally not investing into US companies before COVID, apart from Apple. And for me, like investing in the market, if I were making 20-30% in a year, that was already a crazy high performance. The Italian market is the opposite spectrum of the US one. actually the reason why I was really excited into just investing and studying Italian companies was that I saw very good companies at a crazy low valuation, and I felt there is no reason why these companies that are as good as the big tech in terms of numbers, obviously smaller, should trade at these multiples that are offensive. And the peculiarity is that you buy a company in Italy and potentially nothing really happens for months. And I remember I was invested, for instance, in companies like Moncler, Ferrari, Interpump, stuff like that. And earnings release, you just look at the email, you see, okay, everything is going still well. The market goes up plus 3%, minus 3%, which was already considered a lot.
Mhm.
And you just keep doing your own thing. Now there is this extremization of earnings call, like the big event is like a concert, and then boom, minus 10, minus 20, or plus 20. So it is becoming more exciting on that side, but that means also it becomes way more dangerous if you are not mentally
And
stable,
emotionally
and
stable, yeah.
if you accept that necessarily not doesn't necessarily volatility means a bad thing. Like you need to understand what you're doing in order to assess. Okay, maybe that 20% drop is not actually a bad thing. It is actually an opportunity. But again, you need to study and trying to assess what's the reality, what's the narrative, and that requires a homework. You don't escape from that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because I think the last couple of years I've seen this as well. Many people just, before they even open the earnings report, they see the stock down or up and they've made up their mind. I mean, stock is up 10%. Oh, great. Must be great numbers. Now, sometimes the numbers aren't that great and the stock is up. It's a warning sign.
I mean,
Sometimes the stock is
Airbnb
down.
delivered amazing results, went plus 4% after market, opened at minus 5%. Is like, why? Like, if you think of it, we are talking about a $100 billion company. So that is already bigger than any Italian company, just to talk about the scale. So
How big
Airbnb
is
seems...
Ferrari? 67? No.
I don't remember about Ferrari, but technically Ferrari is neither an Italian company. It's a Dutch company. how it is registered right now.
Yeah, 73 billion. Okay.
So
Yeah.
you see, imagine a company that is considered already very big. Like if you exclude the big tech, $100 billion is already insanely big.
Mhm.
Having a 10% variation from high to low in a day, it's insane. Even 3% is a lot. I spoke with old guys, let's say people in the 80s in terms of age, talking
Mhm.
about the markets, and for them, a plus 1% in a day was already, whoa, that's a lot. What happened?
Yeah, now we have the whole market moving 1 or 2% in a day, not just the company. It's it's different times. I mean, I can understand that before companies were way more stable. So I mean, you didn't have companies that were growing 50% year over year, top and bottom line. So okay, I can understand that things were moving that fast. But yeah, still these days things are moving, in my opinion, way too fast. But yeah, I mean, for retail, the main reason why retail loses money on average is because of emotions. They see things go up, they see things go down, and they react super fast instead of taking the time. I mean, the stock isn't going to run anywhere. If it goes down more, then it goes down more. It goes up more. Take your time. I've made probably way more mistakes by acting like an idiot. Like, oh, quickly, take my phone. Have to make the trade. Now I barely use my phone for anything when it comes to investing. But yeah, it's interesting times. But for retail, I think it's probably one of the best times to learn to invest because of all the information that is available for free.
Well, we need to give a lot of credit to Robinhood. I think it introduced a little bit too much the gambling edit,
Hmm.
the bad habit. But on the other hand, it is true that the way the market is perceived by the general public has completely shifted. 10 years ago, when I started investing on YouTube, you could find almost nothing apart from videos on Buffett directly. Very, very few people commenting on Buffett. There were information spread on some specific blogs, forums, but it was nothing compared with now, where you actually have people who make a living by sharing the ideas, the research. All finance was completely secretive, and that was something that was very annoying on my side, I would say. And I would say there are also credits to Cathy Wood, for instance, for making spread the idea of having an ETF that shares its trade daily, a lot of research, a lot of podcast. So demystified the idea that in order to invest, you, like a fund manager, necessarily needs to keep everything secretive. For instance, I got mad when I was talking with financial advisors for funds we as a family we were investing into, and the guy told me, "Oh no, but I can't really explain you the strategy because they're very secretive about that." And I was like, "I'm giving you the money to actually I want to understand the idea of how you actually put my money to work."
Yeah, I mean, it's my money. Can you not tell you what you're going to do with my money? Yeah,
no, that's
strange.
secret. That's a secret.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's a double-edged sword for sure. I mean, we've talked about plenty of big accounts on YouTube, on X, that use this opportunity to basically just make money from Patreon, their advertising, their courses. So yeah, it's dangerous. Some of the big following are taking advantage from the fact that the majority of retail doesn't really know what they're doing. They see a big person on social media saying, "Oh, this is a great buy. I'll buy," even though, I mean,
the biggest
they cannot say
problem,
it's a buy, but at the end of the day, you're the one pushing the button. But yeah,
the bigger problem of social media is that the bias of the higher the number of followers you have, the more trustful you are. That is an incredibly dangerous trap.
yep.
It happens actually more the opposite side. There is more value in those accounts that are big enough, but they don't really reach mass audience. I would say like you. Rather than those 500K people that just follow the algos. Because as a creator, there is a very, very strong incentive to be more on the hype side, as we mentioned, to surf the trends. But if you're surfing a trend when it is already on the peak, then people blindly trust you because they trust with, oh, if there is 500K, must be trustful as a resource, but then you end up risking your capital if you actually trust. So if you are too balanced, no, that is not necessarily a great thing for a creator, at least short term.
Yep. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we've talked about that behind the scenes. Could have grown our accounts way faster if we did all the clickbait stuff or all the titles and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a shame. On X, actually, these big accounts are not as successful because on X people call you out directly. If you're full of shit, you're dead. You just crawl back into your cave. On YouTube, since there's not really a conversation happening, you post, all your viewers get the video, they click on it, they follow, they don't follow. Nobody can really tell you what to do. But yeah, we'll see how that evolves, because we had a super bullish market. We then go into the bear market. Some of the big accounts, really percentage-wise, they're not really getting that many views anymore compared to some smaller accounts. So yeah, maybe some people did find out that some of them are grifters, but we'll see. Overall, cults, echo chambers, I think there are advantages and disadvantages to put this into the conclusion of a cult.
Is Karp a grifter?
Ooh, is Elon Musk a grifter?
Who's the best CEO among the two?
Who's the best grifter?
Oh, well, on a serious note, I received many comments, especially when the stock was down, that Karp was a grifter. Many people who probably got scammed by SBF actually started saying the idea, oh, actually Karp reminds me a lot of SBF.
Maybe the hair sometimes, but other than that,
I consider that insulting. Like the hair of Karp is completely another level compared with that of
yeah.
SBF.
No, but at the end, when he was on trial, you could see like SBF's hair is like poof, was completely gone. No, but yeah, if we wanna go to the Tesla Palantir subject, you posted a good question last couple of yesterday or 2 days ago. Who's the better CEO, Alex Karp or Elon Musk? I'm an investor in both, of course, heavily in Tesla, less in Palantir. Would love to add more in Palantir soon. But yeah, you want to hear my side first? You want to hear your side first?
I want to hear your side first.
Okay, so to me, it's
like when I sent like when you read the question, like what was your initial thought? It's like, oh, what the hell are you saying? Or oh,
no.
maybe
When I saw the question, I was like, "Ooh, he's trying to start something here." He's
a fight.
he's trying to
Cult
start
fight.
something here. Yeah,
Choose your cult.
exactly. No, because I like both. I think both are brilliant, which is why I put my money in those companies. But right now, I think it's different because, like we've talked in the previous live stream, we talked about should Palantir have a consumer product, right, to reach $1 trillion, which we concluded it should not. So the main difference probably lies there, the fact that, and I assume when you asked CEO, you probably said Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla, and not SpaceX and the other companies, right? So from that standpoint, you can see why Alex Karp can do his Alex Karp moves, because he doesn't have to go to small consumers and make them pay for a product. He goes to companies, goes to governments, which should be much simpler because it's one or two or three people that pay for a whole organization or a whole section of a government. When you look at Elon Musk, I mean, right now he has to sell cars to people. If people don't like the car, if people don't like the color, the comfort, the fact that it's an EV, the fact that he's very, very vocal politically on X, then it's a bit difficult to be a very, very good CEO of a publicly traded company. But then again, if you look at the track record of the stock, which is how I would say many people value a CEO accordingly, he's done a pretty good job. I do think he will do a pretty good job in the future as well. Right now, it's just a year of the stock gets hit, elections in the United States, political agenda, lots of. I mean, a year ago, people wanted Alex Karp gone from Palantir. I don't know if people remember that, but a year ago, people said Alex Karp should go, should not be CEO of the company.
Go.
And now they're like, ooh, all hail Carpetto. But yeah, I don't think Alex Karp is a better CEO than Elon Musk because of how difficult Elon Musk has had in the last 10 years with regards to Tesla and how far they have come, in my opinion, and how far
if
they'll
you
go.
have to close up to the Elon Musk you are seeing right now in the recent months, would that answer change? Let's say you don't need to consider the overall
past.
track record, but let's say the last 6 months, 1 year.
Mhm. No, if I remove, let's say, if we go back now, since he acquired X, let's do that. Since they acquired X, because Palantir
That
was
was the
also,
point I was trying to
yeah,
make.
since they acquired X, I mean, Palantir was also not that great that time, and then things for Tesla and Elon. Then I would say, from a CEO standpoint, of course, Karp much better, because at the end of the day, when Karp talks, he talks to sell, right? He speaks to the conferences to sell the product, to convince those companies, look, we have the best product. You don't trust us? Here, let me show you. Come, I invite you. Try to bring your own competitor, whatnot. We'll compete. And this is what made, of course, what gave us the results that we've just seen a couple of weeks ago. Huge increase in clients, AIP boot camps through the roof. So yeah, that's the job technically for a CEO. So for that short period of time, yes, for sure, I would say Karp did a better job, because yes, some would say, and I would agree, that Elon destroyed a lot of shareholder value with the acquisition of X. Now, whether you agree with the moves or not, I think it was a good move, a necessary move to take X private and away from the people that were controlling it, because I mean, it was really out of control. Should Tesla have paid for that? I would have loved it if he paid half the price, but I didn't make the deal. But yeah, I do hope that going forward, I know he's still a genius, still working quite hard, etc., etc., etc. But there are way too many people that are just blindly saying stuff. At the end of the day, you're a shareholder, you want to see returns, right?
Mhm.
What's the point? Are we going to sponsor every other Elon Musk move going forward? If so, then I want a piece from the pie. Like
Mhm.
some people were talking, oh, XAI. Okay, fine, but I want a piece of the future profits from XAI. Just like if he promised when Starlink will go IPO, Tesla shareholders will benefit from that.
Mhm.
There is zero chance I'm going to benefit from that. I already know it from the moment he said that. I don't know how he's going to do this. It's just not going to happen. But if Tesla shareholders have to take a hit because of some investments, because of some moves, then at least I want to profit from it a couple
Mhm.
of years down the line. That's it.
Well, when I asked the question, I felt like I already knew it would have touched some nerves, but that came from a question I actually had for myself, because I saw the evolution of the perception apart from the facts from both CEOs. I would say Musk's execution was exceptional, perfect up to a certain point, and at that point. Musk was considered essentially above God. I actually call him God Elon when I refer to X, because I'm still waiting for the creator subscription, but God
Yeah,
Elon doesn't allow me.
it's a subscription that will never happen to us, I think.
But then you saw something like a paradigm shift when you also saw Gary Black saying, "Oh, now it is damaging." Tesla more than it is he's contributing, when he started getting too political, getting too distracted, getting too much into Twitter, getting into go F yourself mode. That is not something that I would associate to the 100% to 100% ranking CEO. And quite the opposite actually happened to Alex Karp, who went from being, I was saying, an idiot because they have such a good product, but they can't really sell. So you must be a very bad CEO if you don't really understand the angle. You are not able to profit from that. You're just enriching yourself with your SBC, and employees are all happy, creating a Ponzi scheme on SBC. So you must be really bad. But then you started seeing the numbers of the company actually not changing, but dramatically changing in the positive direction. The perception started to gradually shift. Palantir gradually proved itself. What Karp was saying years before, gradually things start to emerge. I even say the verb now, to carp. To carp means proving someone brutally wrong, because the perception was you're a trash company, you're a consultancy company, you'll never be profitable, you'll never go anywhere. And what's happening right now is that Palantir is probably in the strongest position among all the SaaS companies in the world, apart from maybe Microsoft, which controls the distribution. But let's say from the emerging SaaS, Palantir is the only one who has already got profitable, printing a lot of cash, while also increasing the growth and ready to tackle effectively one of the biggest and most disruptive trends of the decade, which is AI. And now, with the stock rising, the results on his side, the perception of Karp is now God Carpetto, as Elon was at the peak, but is still relatively early in my side. So if I have, so to answer the question, okay, who's a better CEO? Well, the question is provocative because I wanted to trigger emotions, but to try to understand an answer, you need to dissect the components of the question. How, like, let's make one step back. How would you define a good CEO?
So okay, I'll answer in two parts. First of all, Elon never wanted to be CEO of Tesla. I think a lot of people should know that.
I
He
didn't remember.
would
Vero,
no,
davvero. It was a
see,
necessity because
it was a necessity because he couldn't find someone that is suited to be CEO of Tesla. He doesn't want. He would rather prefer to be chief engineer. And he doesn't like obviously publicly traded company, which is why SpaceX will probably remain private for quite a while. But no, a CEO's job is basically like a captain of a team, is to make sure that your team wins, to make sure that the investors in the team wins as well. It's actually your duty. Otherwise, you're out. So yeah, I would say, I mean, if you look at Tim Cook, for example, very quiet CEO, Apple performing quite well. He's doing a great job as a CEO because shareholders get rewarded at the end of the day. Is it the most disruptive Apple company ever right now? No, probably Steve Jobs did a better job. No pun intended. But yeah, I mean, the job of the CEO is to make sure that the company in the future is still here, making more money, making more profit, becoming bigger and bigger. Shareholders profit from that as well. That's their fiduciary duty. So yeah, but there's no but. This is just subjective. But yeah.
Okay, so I agree with you that essentially you pay a CEO as a company in order to manage the company with the end goal to generate value for shareholders. So the mission of a CEO is generating value for shareholders, and a CEO that generates a lot of value for a shareholder is a good CEO. And how the CEO generates value for a shareholder. So let's go back one step back. I would say there are two components. There is an execution component, which is hard coded into the financial numbers. That is something that you see. And on that side, if you look at Tesla, going from almost nothing to billions. Now I forgot how many sales they are, but the size is not important. Like we know that the sales of Tesla right now are crazy high. The fact that why they are on top of the technology side while also having relatively good margins compared with traditional automakers, even if they are the same, but the fact that Tesla invest actually effectively in tech means that if Tesla invested relatively less, they would have way superior margins. So there is a superiority in terms of financial numbers. So on the number side, Tesla has done spectacularly well. But it's not always only a matter of numbers, and you see that the numbers can have some difficulties because from the peak of 2021, right now, even Tesla, which was considered unbeatable like Nvidia right now, for instance, Nvidia right now is increasing like hell, not only because they are producing, making TSMC producing on top of capacity, but also because given the high demand, they can essentially raise prices at infinite and people would still buy, which means crazy profit margin as well. So crazy growth of EPS. And Tesla was in that God moment where you can see in 2000, from 2021, 2022, there were like, well, from 2019 to 2022, there was this huge spike. And now we are seeing, yes, some growth, but already from 2024, there is neither expected growth in terms of earnings despite higher volumes. Why? Because you have price cuts. So there is a strategy there, but essentially that is not what you really want to see as an investor. So there are many components, but the first component of being a good CEO is you deliver numbers. You promise, you deliver, even better, you over-deliver, and that is what creates the basis for shareholder value. But then there is also the perception, how you communicate, the confidence you share, how you actually behave in public. Is your reputation increasing in a positive way, or the perception around you as the leader of a company is actually decreasing? And I would say for Tesla, the execution and the perception were 100% out of 100% as a rating before X. Now, with all the price cuts and everything, with the delays of the Cybertruck or whatever, I would say the execution is still there. Like, I can't deny that the Cybertruck is completely crazy, is something different, makes people crazily happy, hyped, very like the execution is there. The financial execution is more difficult, but that is also a strategy. It is difficult to assess because, for instance, if you reduce prices now, but that has a ripple effect 1 year, 2 years from now, when you start unlocking the SFD on 2x the number of cars, that has huge implications. So you are sacrificing value now to deliver outsized value in the future. That is not a bad thing. It is just a matter of time perspective. But on the public perception, there is where we need to be objective. And Elon Musk is not having the same kind of halo it was having 2 years ago, even if we all still love him. I love when he makes jokes on X. But I would say right now, I see the effect of him being distracted on Tesla, doing things well, but I would not say Tesla is on top of its strength right now. On X, I see the platform is improving, but this thing as a creator, like the creator subscription, makes me crazy, thinking, okay, I'm actually even paying for that service, $25 per month, to be able to use Grok and the creator subscription, and I'm not getting none of the two. So it's like, yes, you are promising, you are making changes, you laid off a lot of people that helped the company staying alive for longer, for now. Yet you are doing too many things because you have Twitter, you have X, you have SpaceX, you have Neuralink, you have the boring tunnel, boring company. So it's like when you have a portfolio of too many companies, and then you start diversifying your attention. And I think this way, I think I was among the few people who actually increased Palantir substantially last month, not because I'm somehow smart, but because I'm so focused on Palantir that I clearly saw the divergence between what was the perception. People were losing a little bit of trust. The stock was not really reacting. And what the company was doing. I was crazy focused, so I saw that opportunity. But if I started putting too much mind on the other companies I was interested, a little bit of Airbnb, a little bit of Robinhood, a little bit of all the other companies that I like, probably I would have not had the confidence of making that bold move that helped me getting good results in these months. So that's the problem I currently see with Elon Musk. I personally underestimated the impact, but even if he's like God in multitasking, I personally struggle to do even just one thing. That is time not spent at really moving the needle where it matters. So I would say in terms of full capacity, Elon Musk has proven himself as definitely a better entrepreneur. When you make many multi-billion companies and the other person has done just one, you are effectively a better entrepreneur. Like You can't deny that. But is Elon Musk, a better CEO than Elon Musk right now? I would say potentially, yes. Currently, I don't see him acting as well, especially in the interest of shareholders of Tesla. As you mentioned, why you as a shareholder of Tesla should pay the consequences of your CEO, like your number one person, your key person, going doing everything but his job as a CEO of Tesla. Why? So should we cut his pay because rather than working his hours on Tesla, he's working on X? What's the clarity on that? I know there are synergies, but probably if it was just one full group, at that point it would make sense. You pay Elon Musk even 3x the amount. It is his job to manage everything. But since that is not the case, you pay Elon Musk as a CEO of Tesla, you should expect that to be his first priority.
Yeah, I think that's why I started by saying that since his products with Tesla, it's consumer focused. That's why it gets hit way more than when you have, I mean, focus to government, focus to big businesses. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I knew this day. I knew this day was coming, especially for 2024, because of elections, because of everything that's happening right now. Since he bought X, he will say it might not be the best interest of shareholders, but will be the best interest of humanity. Okay, I understand. But when you talk about investments, maybe it would have made sense to put everything under one holding company, X Corp, and under that you have SpaceX, Starlink, XAI, Tesla, and you distribute the shares accordingly. Then I wouldn't have mind. Because then I profit from all the other companies where he spends his time on as well. But yeah, currently I would say Karp does a better job being a CEO than Elon Musk. Well, let's see what happens in the coming years, because it's definitely interesting times. I mean, I know interest rates are high. That affects a business like Tesla for sure. So let's see what happens when interest rates go down. Probably a year and a half, 2 years from now, you're going to have a compact car, which should reaccelerate the whole sales cycle. Energy side of the business is still doing very, very well, but we'll see. I mean, there are still two crazy growth levers that might or might never work out, which is FSD and the robot. That alone can be super valuable, but again, long shots. Even Dojo is still a long shot. I'm not just saying it. Even Elon Musk said it in the earnings call. It's also a thing. CEOs don't have to be that truthful. He's sometimes a bit too much, a bit too. I mean, just say one thing and then stop talking. Stop talking.
Well, the more you talk, the more things can go against you.
Exactly. Things taken out of
Go
context.
philosophical, like Alex Karp. That doesn't hurt.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that's the big answer. Over the track record, I think it's still Elon Musk, but yeah, since he bought X, purely CEO wise, yeah, Karp has done a better job. Of course, 6 months ago, would we have said the same thing?
I think
Probably
6
not.
months ago we would have more the answer would be clearer. 2 years ago, like the answer was extremely clearer. But that's why I asked the question. I felt that right now it is not truly clear what should be the answer, and actually the answers I got reflected that. There are people who see a lot of value from how Karp has improved, both as a financial manager but also as a leader of the spokesman of the company when it comes to external communication. And on the other side, you had blind Musk fanboys, which are, oh, are you stupid? I think this question is a joke. Actually, by doing that, you are confirming me that you're biased. That was a question. If you don't think it is true, just say no and explain why. If you need to attack, probably you felt somehow intimidated by my question.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly the feeling when you start questioning someone and the reaction you get is aggressive. Then the conviction is just not there. Because if you get aggressive, you get defensive because someone asks a question, then you've probably put your money in because someone else said it might be a good one, or you just, I mean, blindly followed something because of something you don't understand, which makes zero sense, and which we've seen a lot on YouTube, in the comments, on X. It's getting ridiculous at this point. But yeah, I mean, people are afraid of questions these days. It's sad, but true. I wanna touch on this thing here. Karp had a hard time selling his product. Elon has never had that problem. It's true that Palantir, again, I mean, even they say the best software sales wise, they had to adapt. Congrats to the guy that came up with the AI boot camps. But Elon never had that problem. It's true, but not true. Because at first, I don't know if you remember, but EVs, who wanted to buy an EV? Nobody wanted to buy an EV. You never knew, how can I charge it? Even today, just because it was the best-selling car last year, doesn't mean it's easy to sell. You know, many people still don't want to touch an EV because of all the stories that they've heard. In the cold, doesn't start. How long can I go? Can I find a charger, etc., etc.? Plus,
I'll tell you, personally, if you give me the same budget for, let's say, 30K to buy an EV or a normal car, I would still buy the normal car. The EV, so far, for where I live, which is north of Italy, so not the most remote place in the world, having an EV is more annoying, and I would not see the benefit. Like, I would love to have a Tesla 3, that would be my dream car. Yet, at this point, I would prefer, okay, I don't want to be annoyed with the charging, even, I hope there is a charger in some places that
yeah.
I'm comfortable with.
No, I agree. You need the infrastructure for that. So some places like that, especially in Europe, in the United States, I think you're fine. I think the supercharger network there is great. Other parts of the world, nowhere close. Plus, also, he says Elon has never had that problem. I can promise you already right now that if governments weren't forcing people to go EV wise or green, they would have had way more issues to sell cars. So it's a bit different here. So yeah. Then we had Karp seems very critical of European governments with regards to his company. Does this hurt him in Europe's relationship? He's critical of Europe for their benefit, not the contrary. I mean, he talked last week in Munich with the American guy, Mayorkas, which was impeached, but it was funny to see him there. The way he talks to Europe, to European countries, is yes, he's attacking them in a sense, but he's attacking them in a sense to say, you guys have to wake up. If you don't wake up, you're going to find yourself in a very, very difficult situation. And at the end of the day, he can only do as much to convince them to start using the right products and move into the right direction. If the countries in Europe do not want to realize that, they'll have a painful reality, I think, visiting them quite soon.
I agree. It's not that Karp likes to kick in the back of European governments and countries, but it is true that as a mentality, we are way more reluctant to adopt innovative things, especially things that are not already digested by the US, which makes the adoption of AI way more difficult, which we know that regardless of the field, be that government, be that commercial, has a huge implication in the productivity, therefore in the growth, therefore in absolute terms on the GDP. Like right now, Europe is stagnating for too much time, and the comparison between Europe and the US is getting very embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. If you look at since 2008, Europe and the United States, I mean, it's insane. The difference, the gap between both of these economies is immense.
And it's not only all the quantitative easing, because both had the
No.
quantitative easing. Actually, the US had the real debt crisis in terms of real estate that then had more effect on the European countries. But the big problem was in the US, not in Europe. In Europe, the market was just inflated. It was not really hyped. But it really suffered because it had the way weaker fundamentals.
Yeah, I made a joke to someone yesterday saying that the only way Europe grows is when they find US companies.
That's not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's
in Europe, there are very good companies. Like the average company tends to be mediocre, but you have a top, let's say 1%, 5% of the companies which are exceptionally good, like Hermes, Ferrari, Moncler. These kind of companies are really rock
ASML.
star companies in their own field. Yet we have to accept that in 10 years from now, all companies need to be tech companies. That's also why the value proposition of Palantir can be really good, because that is what essentially it makes. But this company need to accept that they need to transform themselves into becoming tech companies, being good on the engineering side, on the perception, on the curation side, like on luxury. That is a must, but you need to also enter in the new age. Otherwise, you can't really compete with the US, which will have everything driven completely by AI. Essentially, the strength of companies like Amazon is that you have a legacy company completely powered by algos, if you exclude AWS. But the idea of Amazon is essentially you do the same thing, but you do it by leveraging a tech platform, and that can be applied potentially to any company.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in Europe, there are truly immense companies. I mean, in various industries. I mean, LVMH, like we said, Ferrari, L'Oreal, ASML, Airbus, Nestle, Danone. There is like huge companies in Europe that, yeah, those are the biggest ones, the most successful ones. But overall, if you look at the tech scene, Europe is really not the place where you'd be looking. Do want to answer this comment here. When you invest in Tesla, you invest in Musk, and that means everything that comes with it. I'm fully aware, and I think it's worth the investment over the long term accounting for this. Yes, I agree with this, but did you expect Musk to spend $44 billion on X when you invested in Tesla? Probably not. Nobody did. And if someone is going to try and convince me that there was always a possibility that he would use $44 billion worth of shares for Tesla to buy a social media platform, I would say he's lying. Because no, I did not invest in Tesla or in Elon Musk because I thought he would maybe buy a social media company. No, I have no issues him buying stuff for Tesla, investment in Tesla, so that I gain from it as well. On the contrary, now I'm paying X for him to actually survive, and I still don't get the whole value from that platform.
Essentially, so you're double hit.
Exactly.
I don't think it is really a problem that he wanted to buy X, but the fact that it's not just, okay, I buy this company, it goes on itself, but that subtracts the attention from Tesla, that is actually an effect. And I believe, like, if we think over time, X can become a truly powerful engine to further boost the growth of Tesla. If X can really grow, that is essentially internalizing the marketing cost for Tesla. Maybe that's the play, and he needed to secure that his most important marketing asset would be locked. Yet, in 1 to 3 years, still that will impact negatively, because even if now Linda is the CEO, I would say at the end of the day, it's probably Elon Musk that is is very involved. And I would say, for instance, one here, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel Elon Musk is more one-man show, while from Palantir, I think Karp is really good at attracting leaders that could substitute more better than like one day more than what Elon Musk is currently doing.
Maybe from a public perception, yes, but I do think that the Tesla team in each division there is pretty strong independently from Elon. Now that's not to say that if Elon leaves tomorrow, the stock doesn't drop 50%, because it probably will. If tomorrow there's an announcement Elon is leaving, the stock drops, and I probably cut my position by quite a significant amount. Even though the team behind it is still very strong, again, like Zuma said, big part is also Elon Musk in the thesis, but it wouldn't hurt if some more people were going, I mean, not going against him, but actually standing up, like they did with the Model 2, doing it in Austin and not in Mexico. Because for him, it was normal to say to everyone, okay, you have to move to Mexico, and we have to move the design line there and start there, until people came and said, look, I'm not going to move my family. If we can do it in Austin, we'll do it in Austin. So they changed.
Look at Norway. Are they not almost fully electric already?
I mean, yes, they are, which goes back to the point I think I was saying about the cold weather. The cold weather is it's true that it affects batteries, but then again, it affects all cars. Cold weather affects all cars. I think it has been debunked already from EV standpoint. Plus, you can preheat your Tesla if people know how to use their Tesla. It shouldn't really be an issue.
Let me ask you, since we're touching a lot of Tesla, I had another of my questions today from the chart you shared previously. Essentially, right now the market expects the revenues to keep growing. If I remember correctly, more than 30%, 20, 30%. But let's say this is not the point. They expect revenue to keep growing well, while on the EPS side, so the earnings per share, essentially to grow only at a CAGR of 6%. So essentially, right now, analysts see the company to keep growing, but the profits not really growing. Can you share your insights, since you cover the company for a long time? I'm trying to understand. Look, if I want to invest in Tesla right now, in order for make a profit, a big profit, this analyst needs to be wrong. In the same way we shared the last time with Palantir, I think I made a good a good return of 50% in a month from my ad on Palantir, essentially because analysts were wrong. They were too conservative. They didn't really understand what was going on in the company, especially with bootcamps. So I wonder if that could be the case also here, because essentially in order to make big money on Tesla by buying it right now, you bet analysts are wrong on average. And I believe this is the weak point where analysts could be very wrong. Yet I'm trying to reason, okay, 6% EPS CAGR over the next 3 years seems very little to me. But I'm trying to understand why it should not be the case. In your opinion, is Tesla going to do better? And if so, why?
So to be honest, it really depends. It really depends on how fast interest rates drops. In my opinion, I think Elon is still very, very worried about the effects of how long the interest rates stay high, which could lead to a longer recession, shorter recession, depends, and then leads on Tesla's plans to expand being delayed. Because because people forget, but Tesla on a global footprint still quite small. They still have to build out their Mexico factory, which probably will take another 2 years or so, maybe a bit more. There's probably going to be another factory somewhere around the globe, maybe India, maybe not, I don't know. All of that capital intensive. I believe the next 2 years, what's I forgot the number, $9-10 billion in capex. Then back to the 7-8 or something like that. I might be off by 1 or 2 billion, but yeah, they're still going to invest quite a lot because to prepare themselves when the new, let's say, growth cycles happen. And so for an analyst standpoint, seeing the numbers right now, not really getting guidance for this year, basically saying it's going to be flat, then yes, then their expectations are right now very, very low. Could Tesla beat that? They probably can. They probably can if there is maybe a better margin profile for their cars. Even though with the current lineup, I think they've probably reached their peak with cost cuts, not price cuts, cost cuts, basically to make the car. Can they raise the price of some cars? Maybe. I know the new Model 3 is more expensive than the older one, so maybe they can make off that. There's still Cybertruck ramping up. That's not cheap.
But the Cybertruck, do you think is a net positive or a net negative for the margins in the next
now it's
couple of
negative.
years?
Now it's negative.
Now must be very negative.
Yeah. In the
But
future,
I really have no idea when it would become actually profitable to produce a Cybertruck.
I mean, if they can produce 250,000 a year, I think that's already going to be pretty profitable for them. I mean, in the United States, trucks are very, very profitable. So I expect that one to be profitable as well, especially as they ramp up. But it will take a while. Same with the Tesla Semi. I don't know whenever that will come out, fully ramped. But there is the side of energy which is growing way faster, which has higher margin, which I think some analysts just forget about that. It's true, it's only a small part of the business right now, but it's a bigger part today than it was a year ago, and growing faster than the automotive side of the business, plus has higher margins. So that would probably add some positive effects at the bottom line. Then again, we'll see if interest rates drop faster than expected. We could see a reacceleration of estimate of EPS revisions. But currently, I can understand why Wall Street is so pessimistic, because that earnings call was truly horrible.
I mean, it killed even the most enthusiastic bulls.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
the sentiment
was
on X
expecting.
is truly bad. I have to say, I traded a little bit of Tesla in the last year. I still study. I want to have it as a long-term investor. Yet I haven't in order to do that, I really need to grasp everything on the company, and I feel I'm not really there yet. I need to be confident. Okay, I bet big because I know I'm not wrong. And I would say so far the best indicator on when to enter the company is the sentiment on X. When you see people getting mad, crying, that is usually a good signal. On the other hand, as soon as they become too hyped, okay, time to reduce and say goodbye.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And now the sentiment is very negative, I would say.
But the sentiment is negative also because, not just because of Tesla, because of X and the political battles and all of that. And it can take another couple of quarters. Again, the macro does not help at all. Does not help Teslas at all.
So let me ask you this question, which is the big question I currently have as an investor. Why should I buy Tesla now rather than waiting essentially for the big factories to be already built, to maybe have clarity on, okay, what's about X, about a new package for incentive on Elon? But my perception so far is if you buy Tesla now, you pay good multiples. Yet
Mhm.
you need a lot of praise on many sides. So why should I rush to buy now? The price is okay, it's not crazy cheap, but I can't really say it is expensive. It's just there. So why should I wait rather than maybe paying a little bit more, but knowing that the direction is good?
No, now you're basically buying Tesla with a lot of question marks. The compensation package suddenly came out of nowhere. This is another new problem that suddenly popped up for Tesla shareholders, which is an important part, by the way. It's an important part because the judge basically said, okay, shareholder voted. I don't care. They're stupid. They didn't know what they did. We don't care, which again makes zero sense. And to be honest, Tesla, I mean, what, it's 60, 62, 3 times forward PE right now, not expected to grow this year. So yeah, I've seen cheaper things, but yeah, why not wait until things get better? Probably because they're always the same thing. If markets are forward looking, so the moment things get a tiny bit better, the stock would have been already up. And so you missed, let's say, that small run up. But yeah, I mean, right now with Elon Musk still there, despite everything, I still think it's one of the best companies to hold in the long term because of all the catalyst. I hate the word catalyst because it always reminds me of of Gary Black and all his posts. But yeah, there are still a lot of growth levers from profitability standpoint that can propel this company again to the $1 trillion in market cap. But but there's still a long way to go. I have zero expectations of them reaching that 20 million goal cars for 2030. It's just, in my opinion, that won't happen. It won't happen. And if it does, okay, great, but I don't think it will. But until then, FSD could be released. The bot could be maybe a substantial part of the business. Who knows? Dojo could be a reality. Um, they're really bad with timelines. That's one thing I'll say. Really bad with timelines. Um, they promise something. Okay, it comes too late. That's true, but at least it's there. Like the Cybertruck, people had to wait 4 years for that, 5 years for that. But yeah, I mean, why buy Tesla now?
I ask because I think the question I have in my mind is something that is shared by also institutional. Then there was a true compelling story. I buy Tesla because it is the leader of this big transformative market. So essentially, they will grow with the market, which is very strong, and having the leadership position, they would capture an outsized growth. Now the market overall of EVs doesn't look that appealing at overall.
I mean, it's not
Tesla
cheap. It's not
is
cheap to
not,
buy an EV.
it is too cheap. The infrastructure is improving dramatically, but still not in a way that really allows massive adoption so fast. It is still perceived as a niche premium thing. Then there are a lot of questions on Tesla per se. There are a lot of questions on Elon Musk per se. So that's why I like the company. I love the company. As an investor, it is hard to me to say, okay, I put my money to work. Apart from some small trades I like to make here and there, but as an investor, I like to make big investments when I clearly see something strong. And so far, it's like I don't have clarity into seeing this asymmetry. Okay, everything is going well. The market is not really perceiving it. It's like I have no idea what is going to happen, and the market reflects that. So it's not that I see, okay, this is the reality, this is the asymmetry between the perception and the reality. And I think many institutional investors share this stuff. Maybe I would say, like, what's the catalyst? Just to remark that, like, what could be that single thing that helps a change in the narrative? My speculation is, since I didn't consider this, but I realize how important it is. Maybe a new package for Elon Musk would change dramatically, because if he really gets a big compensation, essentially he would be in the mindset, okay, Linda, really take care of X. All the other companies, now finally, I bootstrap them. Now they can stand on their own. Find a good CEO. Now I can really focus on Tesla. So I personally think a big potential package for Elon would create for him the clarity and the incentive to say, okay, everything else is important, but it is a distraction. I need to go YOLO on the execution of my option.
Yeah, no, that's definitely one big catalyst, I would say. It's definitely what Wall Street are also watching, because you cannot have this situation, especially not with Elon Musk, especially not with Tesla right now. A compensation package that gets basically cancelled from a couple of years ago. Plus, I mean, even disregard that there wasn't even a new compensation package because of that lawsuit. So yeah, that's definitely an incentive for him to start. I mean, coming back, let's say, to the Elon of before 2020, 2019 or something like that. That's definitely a major catalyst. And then interest rates. He always talks about interest rates coming down. If it's true or not, if it does come down, that's not an excuse for him to use anymore during the earnings call. So you're going to have that as well. Plus all the factories that are still have to ramp up. Berlin, Austin, Mexico, that will be like, again, 2 years from now. You've got Megapack factory in China that is being built. That should be ready, I think, in a quarter or two. I think 2 quarters. So, I mean, we're still talking about Tesla that is growing quite fast for a company of its size, still spending quite a lot of money, since innovating, still generating billions in free cash flow, sometimes hundreds of millions, sometimes billions, depending on the one-time surprises that we get. But yeah, it's an interesting one, because there are many things that can suddenly propel this company to go up quite a lot, and then some other things that will delay it. But 2024 is going to be an interesting year. My first video on Tesla this year was reset expectations. I think that was.
No, that's not how you play the algo game.
Yeah, I know, but at least I was prepared mentally for what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what are your expectations for Palantir now that we had that great quarter, great earnings call?
Well, the initial expectations for analysts were around 20% growth before the earnings. Now they increased a little bit. I personally think the next quarter will just be the the progression of the last quarter. But the last 2 quarters of the year, that is where we could really see that moment of whoa, wait a second, this is something really strong. So I consider right now the price has already reflected that change in direction. Right now the expectations are like implied in the price, in my opinion, are quite high compared with what is currently happening. Yet I do see this trajectory of the story improving quarter by quarter. And if last year, 2 years ago, no, more or less, well, when the price was below 10, I was essentially making a value investment, because the multiples were cheaper than Coca-Cola, with growth projections, normal growth projections, and the optionality from a company like that, which were completely crazy given the price. Right now, we have to admit that the price has already reacted to the interest of AI, the ability of Palantir to transform its numbers. Yet, we are still early in this journey. So I personally think the story to get better and better, moved also by the S&P, which inclusion, which should happen next month. I don't know exactly when. It doesn't really matter neither. Of the new contracts coming from the government side, for instance, the Titan should arrive in Q2, but there were hints from the conference call that they expect that the US government side would reaccelerate again. So overall, I see a lot of ground for which the famous 30% CAGR, which was initially guided before the of 2022, I think we would get back on track into that and potentially even exceed that once the commercial side, especially pushed by the US commercial, would really gain traction. And at that point, very wild things can happen. Like potentially we could see Palantir even growing at 50% CAGR for many years once they really have this traction of everyone wants AI, and you have all the existing customers really expanding. But in order to get there, like in my opinion, we really need to track what is happening, and we need to be aware when the price starts getting a little bit too hot. I think the bad perspective that many investors have is that once you go and make 50% in a month, that is something normal and which you should expect to continue. And I would say it could continue, especially with these very non-linear companies like Tesla and Palantir. But you should never be in the position where you only make money if this exponential curve takes off. Otherwise, you just risk or losing money because then you sell at loss, or you just lose patience and you don't enjoy the journey. So, as you said, reset expectations. I always like to have relatively lower expectations so that I can pay relatively less and enjoy more the upside. Rather than having high expectations of myself, I prefer to have my own expectations and try to really bet when I see a setting where the analysts or in aggregate are too conservative compared with something I think I understand. So on the Palantir case, after 3 years of manual study, I had the confidence on saying, okay, analysts here are wrong again. I publish them. I punish them. On Tesla, I'm trying to make the same reasoning, but so far, I still don't have that clarity that makes me see clearly, okay, I know I'm right and analysts are wrong for 1 reason, 2 reasons, 3 reasons. I have the intuition that analysts are underestimating Palantir, are underestimating Tesla in the same way they were underestimating Palantir. On Palantir right now, even the most bearish analyst needed to switch their target price. Like, I think it is embarrassing, like more than embarrassing, having analysts who reiterated their sell rating just before the earnings, then after the earnings say, okay, no, our target price, now we make it 2x what we reiterated just before the earnings. Like, that's complete embarrassing. Like, I couldn't get a job as an analyst. I get mad seeing these guys who are paid so much making such a bad such a bad thing. So triggered.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Yeah, but that's again, you're questioning Tesla. Yes, no. It's again easier, in my opinion, was easier to spot the big asymmetries with regards to Palantir because again, Palantir is not really focused on direct to consumer, direct to us, selling us a product. Some people say that's a disadvantage. We discussed. We said that we don't think they need that to grow, and so it's easier to spot all the contracts, the progression with companies, the the partnerships, the interviews, see what they say, etc., etc., because it affects a big company that will pay big money. With Tesla, okay, what, we find one guy with a car, oh, that's our thesis now. It's way more difficult, because at the end of the day, right now they make money by selling cars and mega packs and stuff like that. But I can understand why it's not that easy for you right now to spot that big, let's say, disconnect than it was before. And I want to jump back to the Palantir thing, because we are up. What is it? 42% year to date for Palantir, $53 billion in market cap. But people need to understand that we are still only generating $600 and something million per quarter, or at least that's the projection that the analysts are expecting for next coming quarters. So all in all, still early days for what we are, or what the company is trying to achieve, right? I mean, I think the moment we get $250 million in revenue would be quite a big milestone. But yeah, the expectation right now is probably growth of 20% for this year. Maybe if next quarter they reaffirm again that growth is really accelerating, we might see these numbers change. But yeah, I mean, do you see the price today as expensive, or do you see the price today as fair?
I see
with
it
these
expensive,
expectations,
but not necessarily overvalued. What I mean with that is, if you look at the multiples, those multiples, like almost 60 times EBITDA, so in this case, very close to free cash flow, going very close to 20 EV sales, those are multiples that by definition are not cheap. Those are expensive multiples, but expensive doesn't necessarily mean overvalued. And if it is overvalued or not, it really depends on the future growth, which again, if it stalls at around 20%, which means also the free cash flow grows at around 20%, assuming the margins stay flat, that is not a very appealing setting, because in this case, I would rather buy a company like MSCI, which makes 2 billion in revenues, and half, like a 50, closer to 60% free cash flow margin. Essentially, they can buy back shares with all the free cash flow they make, and they make substantial free cash flow. Or maybe it is just a half the size. But I remember it is very similar to Palantir. So in order to truly make a sense of buying Palantir rather than an alternative, be that MSCI, which is, by the way, one of my favorite companies, you need to grow way more, because, for instance, this company in the last quarter had both very strong revenues, close to Palantir, and also the EBITDA adjusted now. Then we also made some acquisitions, so it's a little bit dirty, but you can see here how the free cash flow of this company really grows. And well, it would be interesting to see the comparison. Like, I think so far they are very close in
the comparison here or the other one?
yes,
the shares?
yes. Try put Palantir overlapped. So I think on many things they are relatively close.
They are close price to sales ish. Price to sales for, I mean, they are 15.8 times. Palantir basically 20 times. But PE Palantir is now way more
But
expensive.
the PE doesn't really matter, because
The
for
next 12 months, yeah,
Palantir is not
your sales.
normalized yet. But the free cash flow, you see, is more normalized. And so far, if you really need to look at just at the numbers, MSCI grows again very similarly, and it has way better margins. Like, look at the EBITDA margin. Like, you have 55% EBITDA margin that almost all become free cash flow, which could be heavily deployed in M&A or share purchases.
Mm-hmm.
Then it is true that they use substantial debt, while Palantir has 3
No.
billion cash, while MSCI use the debt to essentially boost the EPS. But if we have to think in also giving a risk profile, like the risk profile on MSCI is relatively lower. Like there is a way less risk of going wrong. So
Yeah.
this to say, overall, I see Palantir expensive, but not necessarily overvalued, because with AI, we don't really know what is happening. And there is this phenomenon that I described in a post where the dynamic that is in play is like a potential self-fulfilling process of AI going to disrupt, because everyone thinks AI will going to disrupt. Once you have McKinsey, BTG, all these consultancy essentially hyping their clients, saying, "Oh, this is the biggest opportunity because the market is set to grow this much." They actually create that market to grow this much because they're essentially pitching the clients to invest into something by creating that growth. And now these companies want that, and potentially they can create a feedback loop that makes this hype into reality. And now with bootcamps, actually also Palantir can capture this hype into an efficient way, starting getting million contracts relatively little time.
Yeah. I mean, I think if we are truly in a new growth cycle for Palantir, you're right. It's not overvalued. It's not cheap from a share standpoint. It's not cheap because we have grown so fast in a matter of 2 months already this year. But if they can continue the same reacceleration that we've seen, I think 30% is going to look like nothing. The 30% growth expectations, which is funny because a month ago we had the same conversation talking about what would make analysts change their mind, which was a reacceleration in growth. Maybe they'll change their mind when it's suddenly really over 30% for the whole year. 40%, 50% can be, because like we've seen, the base right now, what we're working with, still very small. The fact that they're not generating $1 billion in revenue per quarter just tells you how early, I mean, not early, but how small the base is right now and how big it can become, despite it already being a over $50 billion company. But
That's
people.
essentially the bet. A company like MSCI is already mature, despite having a similar market cap, while a company like Palantir at $50 billion market cap is still at 1% of its potential. So if they are really good at deploying the resources on the opportunity they have, they can really generate way better return. But that comes with a risk, because we face a big question mark. Like for MSCI, the trajectory is quite clear. We just need to keep compounding, doing their own thing, and keeping the monopoly. For Palantir is, will they be able to actually capture this monopoly? Good question. No idea. I mean, I think like as an investor, I bet that to happen, but I can't be 100% sure.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Right now we have less doubt that they can, because of what they showed us, but they need to show us this every single quarter. It's fine that we see one great quarter of acceleration, but again, the pie here is so big, they have just a small chunk of it, despite them being the best out there, or at least that's what they say. That's what the ranking says as well in some areas. So yeah, it can be very, very interesting what happens in the next coming years because of the field that they're playing in, because of how fast things are changing. But the most important thing here is, again, execution is going to be key. And like we've discussed in the past, it takes time actually until we see the full effect of getting the new clients, the new customers in. I don't know, I don't remember exactly how long it takes, but it's not like, oh, new client next quarter, it's in the
Boom.
numbers and
Actually,
boom, we're ready
from
to
the
go.
conversation I had it is really like 2-3 years until you really see a client becoming a substantial client.
Yeah,
So the
which is
clients
probably
now
why.
means in 2-3 years we see the boom. We need that. We need a little bit of patience.
Yeah, no, which is probably why also now we see more and more of those clients speaking about their use of Palantir. Because before that, we didn't. I mean, we barely had people from other companies saying, "Oh, we use this, we use that." Of course, with with AIP bootcamps, it helps, but yeah, even with Airbus and Skywise, I saw a post last week, I think, about that. Now, of course, with the whole Boeing thing, makes sense to talk about that a bit, but
Ha!
exactly. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think it's very important for investors, especially cult investors, that realize still how small, despite how popular and maybe big market cap wise Palantir is, the money that comes in is still very, 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 very small. And so when I see numbers like $50 per share, $500 per share, I have to laugh because it shouldn't be near those numbers. It shouldn't be near those numbers.
I mean, that
Actually,
is the goal, obviously, but I think we should not anchor to that. Like these numbers are lovely, like $50, $100, like are lovely. Obviously, people who buy have these kind of targets in mind. But I keep receiving question, Arnie, what's your target? I don't have
yeah,
a
I saw
target.
that. I saw that this week.
Always like what's my target? I don't care of targets. Like as an investor, I'm happy when I buy something for less than it is worth. If that is the case, I'm happy to buy. If it's not the case, I don't buy, or I could reduce the position. But I don't buy thinking this is the target where I sell. I think the target is when you need to sell. I want to compound with a company. So I can exploit opportunistically the moments where I think the price is too cheap, or on the other side, when the price is too expensive, too hyped, to reduce a little bit. But I don't reason in terms of targets, because I like to have this dynamic framework of, okay, given the current state, this is what I do. When you play card games, you don't say, okay, fifth turn, I will necessarily use this card. Depending on how the battlefield evolves, you adjust your strategy on a rolling basis. Otherwise, if you just think, fifth turn, I play this card, your opponent will kill you if he understands you're just playing an execution game. So you need to really assess what's going on. And obviously, I would be happy if my mental targets are achieved. But I think being anchored to a target is what makes you more vulnerable as an investor rather than stronger.
Yeah, and I mean, I made a video about super microcomputer, the stock to talk about, which is up 700% year over year, 180% year to date. And I had a comment. What do you think the price will be on Tuesday? What? I don't care. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I mean, with Palantir
What
itself, I
hour?
would. Yeah,
4
well,
p.m.
I was like, huh? And two of those comments, what? I had to check. Maybe something special on Tuesday. I was like, it doesn't make sense. No, but with Palantir, I mean, of course, we've heard right when the stock was at $6, $7. Oh, if it reaches $5, I'll buy, and then it goes to 10, 12. And it's like, oh, if it reaches 6 again, I'll buy. Of course, they don't. It goes to 16. If it reaches 10, I'll buy. They don't. And then we had a couple of times where we went back to 12, 14, 15. Some people bought, some people didn't buy. But yeah, with the way we started the year, I wouldn't mind revisiting the 20. Even from a technical standpoint, I think the 20 is an area where I think it would make sense to revisit, because I think there's a pretty big gap there. I wouldn't mind. Some people would be angry. I don't think you should be angry to buy more shares of a company that has suddenly proven that is becoming much better and reaccelerating. That's actually the best case scenario, getting cheaper shares of a company that is suddenly growing faster than before. Usually you want to avoid the other side. Shares go up when the company is decelerating. But yeah, on Wednesday there is a Nvidia earnings. It's probably going to be a good one. Expectations are $20 billion for revenue. Probably is going to be more, in my opinion. I still don't think we're going to see a deceleration for Nvidia. So the AI thing will just continue. Might be wrong, but I think they'll probably do 22, 23 billion for the quarter, and then a raise. Year over year, it's still going to be crazy comparisons for the next 2 quarters. But yeah, I mean, it's funny that Nvidia might crash the market on Wednesday because the whole AI world relies on them apparently. But we'll see. I mean,
but like if I have to speculate on 2024, like this is not something I consider as a working assumption, but something I thought I keep having there that makes me be more cautious into touching also things like Tesla or Apple, is we would see some more tensions on Taiwan. And if that happens, and that if you think of it from a bearish standpoint, that's the perfect angle to attack Nvidia. If you are a short seller and you see some rumors on Taiwan, you know that's the perfect narrative to hit Nvidia, because if Taiwan is attacked, or even if it is just the rumor Taiwan to be attacked, Nvidia suddenly they can produce how many profits they want, but nobody would really want to touch that company, because it has an existential well, I'm exaggerating, but it has a real operating issue if Taiwan Semiconductor can't really process the chips.
We're basically all screwed if that happens, because
We are
Taiwan is
all
the hub for the semiconductors around the world. But
I mean,
yeah,
I think just the narrative could be enough to really trigger fear.
yes.
And like we have to think, the more Nvidia becomes crazy in terms of returns, not saying valuation, because so far it is deserved, the valuation. It is neither expensive given how much money they make.
Yeah,
but
that's the crazy thing. It's not that expensive.
But essentially, Nvidia is now over earnings because there is too much demand compared with what TSMC can produce. If TSMC could have infinite capacity, and also AMD and Intel could produce something valuable, like that would be not that pricing power that creates crazy earnings. So if I were a short seller, I would take the opportunity of a narrative against Nvidia to really try to hit there. So I think that could be the plot twist of 2024. But again, like this is pure speculation, not something I rely on. It's just something that I know that can happen, and I don't want to be exposed to that risk to happen to my portfolio.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, I did a video about competition is coming for Nvidia. It's just one of my only clickbaity titles. But yeah, no, the fact that Intel is starting to produce chips for maybe some other companies with their foundry, AMD having their own data center chips. You have companies like Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, Google, all working on their own chips in-house as well. There is more and more competition, more supply that is coming up. It will take some time.
But think, you are a client of Nvidia. How pissed off you are thinking they're selling you something that is so overpriced they make 50% earnings margin. It's like so obvious that they are killing you on overcharging prices. So you, at this point, you say, okay, I just need to find an alternative that is good enough and makes me running at a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's the advantage of Nvidia is that only TSMC can can do these things right now. 2-3 years from now, of course, it's 2-3 years. It's still a long time, but production capacity should be up because of factories in the United States that get built by TSMC and Intel, maybe some others as well. But yeah, that was my main point of the video. Is basically I think Nvidia is reaching its peak market share dominance, not meaning that it will not be the number one player, but peak market share dominance because of the realization of everyone else basically screw these guys, we're paying way too much, we're still going to use their product because it's the number one in the market, but we're going to try to do some things in-house because well, we think we can reduce the cost on that. But I would like to add some more speculation on the Taiwan thing. From a pure evil standpoint, the best time to attack Taiwan would be when Intel and Taiwan Semiconductor would have their factories
Mhm.
up and running in the United States, because that would mean that the United States have less of an interest to protect whatever happens there.
That's a
So
good angle. I agree.
they could delay
Mhm.
that. Um,
My speculation, we will see like a speculation of a speculation here. We would see rumors to trigger fear in this year, next year, and they will attack, as you say, after, so that the US can say, okay, we don't really need to care this much. We will care, but not that much.
yeah, I mean, from a pure logical standpoint, I think that's the play. Unless they really just want to f up the whole world, then yes, they should do it tomorrow. But yeah, it will also depend on who's the president of the United States, blah blah blah, his relationship, etc. etc. But from a pure, we want to take over Taiwan, so it's part of our big China one policy. Would make sense to wait 2 years until there is a massive chip production site in the West. But I don't make the rules, so I wouldn't know. Of course, we have. By the way, we don't want anything to happen. Just so we're clear.
This is just
But
investors speculating
yeah,
on
exactly.
the future, and since we are neither micro investors, I mean, this is just purely for entertaining, while trying to be aware of the risk, because apart from the talk, there is potential real risk on the companies. And imagine if something bad happens, Apple is completely effed. Completely.
Tesla is not far from being effed as well,
Is
with their Shanghai factory.
less, but still as well. So the US dominance that relies on tech, that could be under question mark. So
Yeah, no, I mean
speculation, but
speculation, but take that
there
into
is some ground.
consideration. Yeah, no, for sure. It's pretty crazy that they have let all of this importance to be kept at that in that small part of the world. I mean, for decades they'll be like, it would maybe be a smart thing to move production and the supply chain a bit to the other side of the world, just in case, you never know. But no, apparently never crossed anyone's mind, which is mind blowing. And by the way, did you know that TSMC should have been in Texas before they moved to Taiwan?
No?
Yeah, should have been an American based
And
company.
they moved
Yeah, because it didn't
the
work out
founder?
with policies and grants and stuff like that. And so they moved there,
I
which is
didn't know.
so stupid. So
You see,
stupid. Could have avoided everything.
I do like Nassim Taleb. I think
Hmm.
he influenced my way of thinking way more than many investing books that they tend to say always the same thing. But when he speaks about the fragility of the systems, and he says something, yes, something that becomes bigger is better theoretically, but you also have potentially some points of fragility that becomes more and more relevant, especially the more the system is connected. And I do see this, especially when we talk about Taiwan, globalization made the world grow a lot, apparently better, but the point of fragility that relies on Taiwan for chips, on China for manufacturing, that creates a very big fragility. And I can't help thinking of Apple being this huge diamond that has this single angle of fragility. I'll tell you, I was very invested in Apple during the pandemic. I love the company. So far, I think I would be still heavily invested in Apple. But I made a promise with myself. Like the very first moment I see a negative narrative on China, Taiwan, I say goodbye to the stock. And I still haven't touched since. And I still wanted to have Apple again. I can't help thinking that you just need that single point of failure to really devastate the company. Still, every company has its own point of failure, but in the case of Apple, I see that as something so fragile, where essentially you need to pray Apple to be in the favor of Xi Jinping. The moment Xi Jinping wakes up and say, you know what, we attack Taiwan, or you know what, Apple, I'm tired of you. Goodbye. Now we want Huawei to become the global company for, or we ban completely iPhones. They already made with government officials. That moment, you have the profits of Apple, just a big chunk. Poof. That's a risk, a huge risk. I can't personally absorb until the situation changes.
Yeah, no, it's fair points. Fair points. I mean, the fact that Apple invested so much there and nowhere else until more recently in India is also nuts. I
that makes margins. In India, there were not enough conditions to have good margins because you would not have enough internal demand. The infrastructure is not built so that shipping things would be a mess. But you see, Apple is the almost perfect company, but it has these risks that can potentially become real. And one thing I learned from Taleb is once you have a point of fragility and you take the timeline and you drag it to infinite, sooner or later that point of failure will become reality, unless you change the structure.
Yeah. Okay. The comment Buffett seems to sleep well. Yeah, because he rakes in the millions and millions in dividends. Plus, I don't think he manages the portfolio anyways anymore. Too busy buying Sirius XM, which I don't understand why, but okay. But yeah, interesting times ahead. Interesting times ahead, for sure.
He would be sleeping better with Palantir, potentially benefiting from that chaos. And I always reiterate, imagine if Palantir would empower all the 86 companies in Berkshire, essentially making them tech companies operating in legacy industries. That would make Berkshire really, really shine. Think also all the energy infrastructure they have. That is what Palantir does, essentially. How you call it? Bread and butter every morning.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, again, we look at it from the potential that might happen, and where Palantir is right now from a revenue standpoint, earning standpoint. So much growth potential because of what we just said. All the companies that can and will benefit from applying AI solutions, making their companies leaner, faster grower, more efficient, etc., etc. So yeah, we'll see. Execution again is key. Sales, AIP boot camps, conversion rates, of course. And then for people that will complain, oh, but what about Europe expansion? Trust me, US has enough money to bring in billions and billions of profits for Palantir, which sometimes I feel funny. I know you don't follow it as closely. SoFi, for example, people already talking about, oh, SoFi international partnerships. Like, guys, US is so big. You don't need to go international all of the time. Sometimes you
Well,
go international and then you fail in the US because
I'll
of
tell you
that.
something that SoFi investors don't want to listen. In Italy, there is this bank, Fineco Bank, which went fully digital like almost 30 years, like as the internet went up and has been always profitable. Like they have 45 net profit margin while growing 15-20%. So that is already a SoFi that is like perfect from a financial standpoint. The risk of that bank, despite Italian bank, is crazy low. And there is another example called the Limiti Bank, which is profitable, grows like crazy, and trades at 4x price to earnings. So SoFi, yes, is a interesting company, is an interesting story, but I think many people are not really assessing the full picture with that. Also, I would say it's not a company that relies on asset management, which is very secure business, even if it is volatile, but the fees from funds are very, very safe. They rely a lot on loans, and loans are on the risky side of the assets.
It is
But
changing. It is changing, but yeah, originally that's the
nothing against SoFi, just to be clear. I just
no. I understand.
personally don't really see the amazing story people see. For me, it's just okay. They realized something an Italian bank realized more than 20 years ago. Ooh.
Yes. No, exactly. That's the thing. Right now, I mean, that's why everybody's so excited with the partnerships here with NBA now becoming the bank for them, SoFi Stadium. It's marketing. It's pure marketing to get more people to use their services and then operate as any other traditional / neobank would operate. And then people like compare SoFi. I don't know how many market cap right now, but very, very small compared to the other big banks. And so they say, oh, if Citi and Wells and Fargo, I'm not even talking about JP Morgan because forget about that. If they're worth this, then SoFi can also be worth that. Yes, but they need the assets, they need the users, the profits, the reputation. It takes time.
Banking
It's not
is
like
all about reputation. It takes really a lot of time. Just because, like for instance, I think the problem a new bank has, they can be efficient, but really get the trust. It takes a lot of time. Like on the investment banking side, everything goes on the league table of precedent transactions you have already made. You'll never beat Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan on M&A. Never.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's, I mean, we've seen that last year with the bank runs. It's years and years of reputation building up, and then just poof, the balloon pops. But yeah, I mean,
Is a
I hope
SoFi a
SoFi
cult?
small, very small. I think very small.
I think is smaller and more dangerous than Palantir. More dangerous, I say that not because people are dangerous, but the kind of company, I think it is more dangerous. And I see more dogmas. And this need, I personally receive a lot of comments on, oh, you should invest also in SoFi. I don't give a SoFi on SoFi. Like, I appreciate the company, I respect people following it, but I don't see why people should go and tell me you should invest in SoFi, especially if I'm not from the US, and so I can't really grasp the details of the US financial system. So that is a hint to me that is a small cult, but I think less informed.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it's like, oh, there is a Tesla cult, there's a Palantir, and suddenly poof, a new cult has popped up, the SoFi cult. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's definitely value to be seen with SoFi. Again, very different than Tesla and Palantir. The thing is, with every announcement, people just blow everything out of the water. Just a marketing announcement is like, ooh, okay, cool. There is some logic behind it. I understand, but just because they have a new partnership, it's not going to be the game changer that you think it's going to be.
It's not that because you partner with the NBA, then suddenly SoFi is worth 2x.
Yeah,
I mean,
actually, you
about
pay.
but
Actually, you pay to be
exactly. I mean,
the
this for SoFi, but the same thing for Palantir. Like every new partnership is just a good step in the right direction, potentially. So the role of you as an investor and us for influencer, call it however we want, is to try to assess, okay, this is a positive news, but it's not that, oh, now this changes everything. It's a piece of
usually it changes basically nothing much.
Exactly.
I mean, the SoFi Stadium, the rights, the naming rights are costing them quite a lot actually per year, which of course calculated in marketing costs, etc., etc. And fine, they still think they're going to be profitable throughout the years, gap net income. So I guess things are working out for them. But yeah, I do feel if we're looking at the cult ranking, it's probably the lowest currently, probably the lowest.
I personally see good potential for Robinhood to emerge as a cult, and it could be that in 5 years, 10 years from now, it will become really a thing. Oh, what cult are you investing into? Because I personally think this idea of the community around the stock is fascinating, but can really emerge. Yes, I'm Italian.
He's from the army.
I was actually thinking of one potential idea of the pattern I had was the Army's army.
Yeah, it could be good. Could be good once the subscription is enabled.
Yeah, but well, I tried. I deleted it.
No. No, but yeah, I mean, Robinhood has had the anti-Robinhood cult at first with the GameStop AMC thing.
You see, you need an enemy in order to reinforce the cult. Like Palantir had the Wall Street enemy. Tesla also had the Wall Street enemies. Robinhood has more. So far, well, yes.
It's
but
Wall Street banking. Yeah, I mean, the analysts
yes.
there are also some
Yep.
stupid. More Italians here. What is this?
Make the
typo.
Italians community big.
This is a typo, no?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I think there is also the Chinese investors cult. The Baba is undervalued. Baba is undervalued cult.
PayPal is emerging.
PayPal is a good bag holding cult. But yeah, Apple for sure.
Where are the compounders, bro?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure.
The high quality. I mean, nothing bad against that. But personally, what I'm seeing is people keep talking always of the same companies. Like there are so many companies, and I really see like the trend on the same companies spreading among all the newsletters.
Yeah, because it's easy. I mean, it's the same with Seeking Alpha. Whenever a new trend starts on FinTweet or whatever, suddenly you see many, many more articles because, of course, it drives clicks. So there's the same with PayPal, right? Suddenly everybody started to talk about PayPal as if it's a new company. It's pretty interesting. I mean, pretty interesting. It's a bit sad, but yeah. I mean, I've talked For example, another fintech player. Everybody likes fintech, but everybody talks about the same fintech companies. I talked about New for quite a while. It's up 2.x times for me right now. I checked last week. I was surprised, but yeah, it's amazing company that is eating everyone in their markets. It's a Latin American company. There's some, I mean, one of my best investments probably Mercado Libre and Nu, which both are in the same the same area. But yeah, it's a problem that people just a lot of people talk about this company, so I don't want to look for something else. Which is a shame. It's a shame because again, there are plenty of other companies in the market that are interesting.
Well, that's I think this is just the effect of social media when you translate that into the financial world. At the end of the day, it is the effect of the power law. Like there is a power law into the attention funnel, so that you have most of the attention driven by a couple of stocks, and then you go down until the completely unexplored way. Oh yes, Zuma says there's the serial acquirers cult. Well, Constellation Software has quite a cult.
Yeah.
I personally struggle to appreciate that company despite its stellar in terms of results. I'm not excited about a supposed software aggregator that potentially could be replaced completely by Foundry applications. But that's pure M&A execution they make well. But I see the cult. The guy with
the long beard, yeah,
beard.
Nostradamus.
there are no pictures of him, but we all love him. That's fascinating, I would say.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. We should start maybe a cult thread.
A cult investing.
Cult investing thread, yeah. Interesting. Yeah. All right. If there's any more questions, cults, no cults, Tesla, Palantir, ask away right now, or be forever silenced.
And you will be kicked out of a cult.
Yeah. The reintroduction will be very, very painful. I saw maybe a comment I didn't answer. I think with the Cybertruck for a while. This one. Did we ever get the cost of production of a Cybertruck? I think we did not. We did not get any info with regards to production of a Cybertruck besides the fact that it's going to cost them a lot of money in the short term.
I understood that. The problem I see for the margins of Tesla is that if you want to ramp up things, those things are expensive. And I received some comments on X. Oh yes, what would really make the margins improve would be the ramp up of the compact car. And I say that doesn't really add margins. Actually, that puts margin pressure when you need to ramp up a new model.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the timing could have been could have been better. Is Palantir a buy now? No, it's a short. It's a big short.
I don't see it as a short. I would say it is more a hold, at least for me. Obviously, this is not financial advice, but it really depends on the portfolio you have, the approach, how much interest and due diligence you already have made. And what does it mean? Is it a buy? If you buy it like a couple of shares, it doesn't really impact you. Is this a price for which I would load the house? In my opinion, no, but I already load the houses when nobody wanted to buy it. So my perception is different. So if I have since I already have the shares, I'm not really willing to sell the shares I have. I want to add at this price. No, I just wait for another opportunity to see. Meanwhile, I let the business compound and see the story keep evolving.
Yep, exactly. Anything else? Let's see. No, I think we answered most of the question. Maybe here AI, last one. AI sector is skyrocketing, and so AI-related cryptocurrencies. I'm bullish. Oh, yeah, okay.
What is an AI-related cryptocurrency?
It's Ocean Protocol, Fetch AI, and Render. I think in their white paper they said AI 1,000,000 times, and with their coins you can become a humanoid robot. And so you enter the Bitcoin Lightning Network and become Optimus Prime. That's, I think, how you. This is the value behind this.
I can't judge this. I'm not an expert on cryptocurrencies, despite I've been following things for much time. I've recognized many scams, especially the biggest one of FTX, when all the YouTubers were promoting that. I made a video to expose that crap. So I tend to be skeptical. I'm not against the cryptocurrencies per se, but I don't really see real actual value from the usage of them, because if we exclude this stuff is going up, people are not really excited for the cryptocurrencies per se. They are excited because things
The
go
price.
up. If they were just flat, people would not be as excited. And just an orthogonal thought I just had related to the NVIDIA, since we spoke about it before. Now they don't only have the AI side, they also have the cryptocurrency side that is pushing, but nobody is really paying attention to. So that really, further increases the demand for the chips.
Yeah. Could be a interesting point. Does empathy have any factor on your guys' investment framework? Meaning, in not investing in companies like Lockheed Martin and stuff like that, or
Exactly. What do you mean with empathy? Empathy means you understand someone else's emotions. You sympathize with someone else's emotions. I personally, despite I'm grounded on the fundamentals, I like to understand what other people think, what are their sentiment, so that I can potentially bet against them if I see an anomalous sentiment. I'm not sure this is what you refer to.
Yeah, I don't know. Empathy in all cases of all stakeholders. I'm even more confused now.
Same.
I'm even more confused. In the meantime, already in profit by 50%. So is a sell of your cryptocurrency. I mean, if you're up 50% in Vegas, do you stay in the casino or do you go to the bar or your hotel? The same answer.
Maybe a good an idea could be take the profits and invest in the casino.
This is also a good one.
Vici, Joseph Carson likes it.
I'm right now on a post where he basically admits that he makes the majority of his income from YouTube and Patreon, and not from the investment. Taking into account all stakeholder. Yeah, but what's the link between?
What's empathy?
Yeah, I mean the meaning of the word empathy when it comes to what I have to.
A company. I was supposed to study when I was an analyst was a company that were pretending to do empathy in technology. And essentially what they had was a crappy SaaS platform that theoretically should help you understand what are the emotions of the customer. So that's why I think that is related to that. In terms of investors, as I said, I like to bet against the sentiment when it is too negative. So, okay, do you take into account all stakeholders when I make an investment? I would say it's not the primary choice. Maybe more for a little trade, like I did with Tesla. That I like during last year, Tesla is essentially down, but I made two times more than 30%. Just okay now, like the Tesla boys are extremely negative, too negative. I think they're too negative. I exploit this emotion, but when I make a real investment, that is just a component that is not the thesis. It's like it helps adding you a degree of certainty, a little bit of understanding, essentially. I mean, in any case, we have to think that when you buy something that incorporates a very bad sentiment, and you recognize that is too bad compared with the underlying reality, that is a hint in the right direction, but that should not be the reason why you make that.
Yeah, I would agree. Thanks for the clarification. If there is more philosophy questions, let us know. If not, I think it was a good discussion. Alex Karp, Elon Musk, Tesla, Palantir, cult, no cult, YouTubers, not YouTubers. Do pay attention with people that make more money off your views and clicks and subscription than of their own investments. Can still be great people, but if they make more money outside their portfolio, then their incentives are somewhere else, especially if they're short or it's a short newsletter.
And has a bear picture on it.
Yeah, in a cave. Stakeholders being customers, partners, society, employees, etc., etc. I'm not really always diving that deep into all of it, because if we have to think about every single plant and microorganism that might be affected, then I guess I won't really do much. But no, you invest in companies where you believe in the vision, the people that work at the companies, the products that it might impact things. So yeah, depends on where your limits, moral limits are. I mean, if people want to invest in defense companies, invest in defense companies. Defense companies is meant to defend you from evil people. So sometimes, yes, you go to war. Sometimes it's necessary, sometimes it's not. But at the end of the day, you decide what you invest in. So yeah, there is that. Should have invested in Ferrari.
I invested in Ferrari, and if I tell you that I had it at $40 per share, I bought it just after the IPO drop. Once the lockup was done, it dropped, and I bought it below P20, below. And it was I made it more than 2x, but then I got influenced. I got influenced by the person who I was supposed to build an investment holding with, and I realized never be influenced by someone else, especially when they tell you that the book value matters.
I'm trying to find the message I sent when I found out that they were public. I think it was a year or so after they went public, I found out, and I was like, maybe that's a good investment. I can't find the message, but I remember it was much, much lower, around probably the 50 mark. And And I was like,
That was crazy because it was one of those IPOs where the IPO price was really good. Like typically IPOs are scams, while this one was too cheap compared with what you were buying.
yeah, if we were going public today, was probably way higher, way higher. But yeah, I mean, we live and learn. We're gonna buy a Ferrari maybe in the future, thanks to Palantir, which is a sponsor of Scuderia Ferrari in F1. So
So don't
maybe
go
it
to
is
Lambo.
it's
Keep
written
your
in the
money.
stars.
Make the queue for the Ferrari.
Yeah, because the queue is long. The queue is long. I can tell you that. I was a couple of years ago at a dealership that with plenty of cars. I was like, I was asking this Ferrari Pista, what's the reservation like? 3 years. Like,
Wow.
I was like, what? I told him like, put my name on it. Well, who knows? 3 years from now, I don't know. You never know. You never know.
So
Now I
you're
know.
waiting for the Ferrari?
Now I'm not
For the
waiting
call?
anymore because 3 years already passed now, and
Tesla stopped mooning. So
Elon
maybe
bought
next.
X. I I gave up. I gave up my Ferrari Pista for free speech.
You see, you had a good vision to adhere with. That was
Exactly.
for a good reason.
Buy a Tesla. I will buy a Tesla. You stop selling people Xpeng, and I'll buy a Tesla. Xpeng spies on you. Then it goes into a wall. You never know.
But
That's the
what
thing
about
also
the
with
Neo? The Neo has now that shaking movements.
this is such a neo thing. They are professionals at doing marketing stunts that will just cost them money in production and stuff like that. It makes zero sense. The snow does not get off the car, as you can see in the video. I'll try and find it again. Sawyer posted it, so it's probably easy to find. But the snow doesn't get off. Why does the whole car have to shake?
I mean, the hydraulic suspensions are so expensive. You're not okay.
What is this? Look how much snow there still is on the car and on the windshield. This doesn't go off just by shaking. Why not? This is what I wrote. We could just heat up the car. Nah, that's not cool enough. Neo's creative meetings is basically this. They are professionals at doing things that they should not do when they are still not profitable to the point where they can do stuff like that. It's the same with the stupid Neo phone, Neo lifestyle, Neo, I don't know, housing, whatever. It just doesn't make any sense. It
They
just
also have
doesn't.
the tiny Tamagotchi in the car.
Yes, in the AI little bot. It's cool, it's nice, but it doesn't make any sense. Zero sense. I don't know. I saw this, I was like, oh, I knew this. I didn't even look at the word Neo. I knew it was them because of
I
how
knew
dumb
it
it
was
is.
new.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. At the
Oh, the
swap
swap.
station.
Wow.
Ah,
And they are even trying to justify that. I mean,
the fact
to me,
that
that is
you make
insane. Like, it is nice that they found a way to actually make that, but in order to make it work, you essentially need to be already almost everywhere in the world, and you need to have like a swapping station that is
Mhm.
just a simple box. But imagine the nightmare to build a swap station, like the engineering parts needed to while charge.
No, and I mean, to me, the fact that you thought about building swap stations and still continue to build swap stations just tells me that you're not confident in your battery technology, because you should not be, you should not switch your whole battery pack just like you fuel your car or you charge your Tesla. People say, yeah, but over the years the battery goes down. Yes, it goes down, but we've seen the test. It takes quite a while until your batteries are let's say useless for you to change your whole battery pack. This whole battery swapping station is another cool looking thing. Ooh, I go into a machine and suddenly I have a new battery pack. Okay, congrats. But what's the point here again? There's no. Yes, you need an order of magnitude of more batteries. That's true, because you always need those batteries to be ready to go at those swap stations, even if nobody uses them, which is also something that I'm like, huh? How many battery packs are staying there underground doing nothing, probably losing power as well in the meantime? Um, yeah, I mean, there's a reason why Tesla didn't go this route, despite them thinking about it 10 years ago, I think. But I guess Neo thinks they know better. But okay, good luck to
Sometimes
them.
it's just a common sense. Like you don't
This is
need to
also a
be
cult. Neo,
Oh,
100% the Neo cult, because this has to be the next Tesla,
mm-hmm.
for
Actually,
sure.
yes. Like those people who say, "Oh, Palantir is a cult. These are just people who missed the Tesla opportunity and they
I
needed to
saw that in
find
the
a new one."
comments.
That is not wrong, I would say, in my case. Like I saw Tesla very early in 2013. I realized how okay this will be the future, but I actually missed that. So yes,
Yeah.
it's my revenge.
Yeah, no, but the fact that Neo is also an electric car maker purely shows you it's people
The
that missed
next,
Tesla and
yeah.
wanted to find the next best thing. Which fine, for a moment it worked, because I found Neo when it was very close to bankruptcy, so at $1-2 or so. Of course, didn't buy, because why should I buy it? And then it went to 60. So pretty crazy. But again, could have gone to zero as well. But yeah, the whole sentiment was this is the Chinese Tesla. The Chinese Tesla is Tesla in China. That's the Chinese Tesla, basically. BYD doing a tremendous job, but again, we know why. Hybrids, cars
It
that
is
cost also
fascinating
less.
that both Thiel and Peter Lynch say the next thing is nothing.
Yeah, Zuma says here.
Yeah.
Mm, yes, the next thing is nothing. It's a good one. Smart people. these guys.
Not new.
Yeah. Huh. All right. If there's nothing more now, thank you all for joining. As always, Arnie, great to have you here.
My pleasure.
Now
Thank you for
with
having me.
Palantir being up, so that's good. Maybe next time it will be down. Who knows? Maybe we are the market makers here. We'll see. But hopefully you all enjoy it. We talked a bit outside the Palantir cult and realm, but yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy it. Those that have joined from X and YouTube, thank you very much. And yes, Chinese cars will take over the EV market. That's for sure. At least that's a trend right now that we're seeing. So I don't disagree. But Tesla is also in China, so we should put them into that category, unless there are some regulations that restrict them from selling underpriced cars in the West, especially in Germany, since the car
I personally
market.
don't believe in Europe, which I can't say almost relies, but heavily relies on auto manufacturing would allow that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, the German economy relies on Volkswagen, so yeah, we'll see. I mean, I've seen some articles talking about some restrictions for Chinese car makers, which makes sense. But then again, Europe has really laid out the red carpet for Chinese everything. If you look at football games, everything is already in Chinese sponsored.
Mm-hmm.
But then they go find American companies because, yeah, why not? TikTok, no problem. Gambling Chinese companies, no problem. Like the sponsor of Inter and Roma that couldn't pay, no problem. But Apple, Google, Meta, Amazon, let's find them because it's not China. Okay, I guess we'll see what happens. Anyways, thank you all for joining. See you all in the next one. Links will be down in the description and the pinned comment. go follow Arnie Substack on X, and whenever Elon will allow us to have subscriptions, go subscribe as well.
Please, God, Elon, remember of us, as Europeans.
Exactly. Ciao, ciao.